Everywhere you look, America is built around one thing: buying. From the moment you wake up, you're surrounded by things someone sold you. Your phone, your coffee, the chair you're sitting on, every single piece of your day was purchased. But how did this country, once founded on hard work and self-reliance, become the most powerful buying machine in history? Why did consuming become such a deep part of the American identity? Because over the last 100 years, America didn't just get good at making things. It mastered the art of selling desire. In this video, we'll trace the journey of how buying transformed from a necessity to a national obsession, how advertising, credit, and culture joined forces to make spending feel like freedom. You'll see how an idea born in the factories of the early 1900s became a belief system, that happiness, status, and success could all be purchased with the right product.
So stay with me to the end, because understanding how this happened doesn't just explain America. It reveals how wealth really works. Let's start where it all began. Before America learned how to buy, it had to learn how to want. Before the 1900s, most Americans lived by a simple rule: buy only what you need. Shopping was about survival, not self-expression. You visited the local general store once a week, picked up the basics: flour, salt, maybe some fabric, and that was it. There were no brand choices, no sales, and no advertising convincing you that one soap made you more attractive than another.
But the Industrial Revolution changed everything. Suddenly, factories could produce goods faster and cheaper than ever before. And when production skyrocketed, companies faced a new problem. They had more product than people needed. The solution? Create want. Enter department stores, mail-order catalogs, and national brands. These weren't just new ways to sell products, they were cultural revolutions. For the first time, Americans could browse, compare, choose. Owning things began to signal identity. If you had the latest furniture or the finest china set, you weren't just comfortable, you were successful. The meaning of consumption began to shift from survival to self-definition.
But this was only the spark.
The explosion came after something massive, something that would reshape not just what Americans bought, but why they bought it. Because the real consumer boom didn't start in factories. It started when millions of soldiers came home from war. When World War II ended, America stood on the edge of a new world. And this time, it wasn't fought with bullets, but with buying power. Soldiers returned home with savings, new skills, and a hunger for stability. The GI Bill gave them education and access to mortgages. Factories that once built tanks and planes shifted to cars, refrigerators, and televisions. The suburban dream was born. Wide streets, front lawns, white picket fences, and homes filled with shiny new appliances that promised to make life easier. Advertisers saw an opportunity and pounced. They didn't sell products, they sold the American dream.
Television became the new battlefield for attention. Commercials promised that the right detergent made you a better parent, that the right car made you a success. Buying became more than economic activity. It became a patriotic duty. Spending fueled jobs, growth, and confidence in a booming economy. And as households filled with products, a new idea quietly took root. More stuff meant a better life. Every purchase was proof that America was winning. Winning comfort, status, and happiness. But this wasn't just about what people bought. Something deeper was changing. The act of buying was becoming emotional. It wasn't about need anymore. It was about how buying made you feel. And that feeling became the new product. It would be about manipulating desire.
By the 1950s and 60s, America had perfected the machine of persuasion. Advertising wasn't just creative, it was psychological warfare. Marketers realized they weren't selling toothpaste or cereal, they were selling beauty, belonging, and self-worth. The rise of Madison Avenue ad agencies introduced a new breed of experts, psychologists who studied why people buy. They learned that emotion beats logic every time. A woman didn't buy lipstick because she needed it. She bought it because it promised confidence. A man didn't buy a car for transport. He bought a symbol of power, success, and freedom. Products became mirrors, reflecting who people wanted to be. And every ad whispered the same message: you are what you own. To keep the engine running, industries invented strategies to make people buy faster. Planned obsolescence, annual model upgrades, and fashion cycles that made last year's items feel outdated. You weren't just encouraged to buy, you were taught to keep buying. Magazines, movies, and TV shows all joined the chorus. The perfect home, the perfect look, the perfect life. It all came with a price tag. By the end of the century, America wasn't just a country of consumers. It was a culture built around consumption itself. But desire alone couldn't fuel the machine forever. People wanted to buy more than they could afford. And that's where the next revolution began. Not in advertising, but in how we paid for everything. By the 1970s, America's appetite for buying had outgrown its wallet. It was a new system that made it possible for everyone to buy, even without money in hand. That system was credit. Credit cards changed everything. Suddenly, people didn't have to wait for payday to live like they wanted to. Buy now, pay later became a way of life. It felt like freedom, instant gratification wrapped in a little piece of plastic. Banks and corporations realized that lending wasn't just profitable, it fueled the entire economy. When people spent more, companies made more. When companies made more, they borrowed more. And so the cycle of buying, borrowing, and spending became America's heartbeat. Retail was evolving. The corner store gave way to the shopping mall. The mall gave way to the big box store. And the big box store gave way to online marketplaces. Each step made buying faster, easier, and more impulsive. The more convenient it became, the more invisible the act of spending felt. At the same time, manufacturing moved overseas. Factories in China, Mexico, and Southeast Asia made production cheaper than ever. Goods that were once luxuries became accessible to almost everyone. You could fill an entire house for a fraction of what it cost your grandparents to furnish one room. But this came at a hidden cost. The value of products fell, but the urge to consume rose. Buy-in became less about quality and more about quantity. The cheaper things got, the more people bought. This was the perfect system, an endless loop of affordability and desire. Yet, behind the shiny shelves and glowing ads, something darker was forming. Because when a country builds its identity around consumption, it also inherits something else: waste. And that waste would soon define a generation. By the 1980s and beyond, America's greatest export wasn't technology or culture. It was consumerism itself. Shopping became recreation. Malls turned into gathering places where families spent weekends, not because they needed something, but because it felt good to buy. The more is better mindset took full control. Fast fashion, disposable tech, and single-use everything became the norm. Companies learned that selling products that didn't last made customers return faster. And as long as credit was easy, no one questioned it. But the mountains of waste told a different story. Perfectly usable items were thrown away for the latest model. Landfills filled with yesterday's trends. Clothes barely worn, gadgets barely used. America had become a throwaway society, where value was measured by what's new, not what's lasting. Psychologists began to notice something unsettling. The more people bought, the less satisfaction they felt. Shopping gave a temporary high, but it faded quickly. The chase for happiness through consumption became an emotional treadmill. Meanwhile, the economy kept booming because of it. Consumption wasn't just a habit anymore. It was a necessity for growth. Around 70% of the US GDP now came from consumer spending. If people ever stopped buying, the entire system would slow down. Money that doesn't exist yet. Because behind every shopping spree, every new car, and every home renovation lies the engine that keeps this cycle alive: debt. At the core of America's buying power lies a paradox. The country became wealthy by teaching its people to spend money they didn't have. Debt wasn't just tolerated, it became a tool for growth. Credit cards, car loans, and mortgages allowed ordinary Americans to live lifestyles once reserved for the elite. The idea of saving first and buying later faded away. Now, you could have everything instantly and pay for it over time. It felt empowering, like beating the system. But in reality,
The system was designed to make you keep playing. Banks loved it. Every loan meant interest. Every swipe of a credit card meant fees. Entire industries grew around the psychology of borrowing. Debt became normalized, expected, even celebrated. Ads said, "You deserve it." The economy said, "We need it."
As household debt rose, so did GDP. Economists realized that when Americans borrowed, they spent. And when they spent, the economy grew. The entire financial system began depending on this cycle of confidence. The Federal Reserve even stepped in to keep it alive, lowering interest rates whenever growth slowed, encouraging more borrowing. But this wealth machine had a hidden flaw. It made Americans feel rich without actually being rich. A family with 2 new cars, a big house, and a mountain of credit card debt might look successful, but beneath the surface, they were trapped in a system designed to keep them working, spending, and borrowing again. Still, for decades, it worked. The illusion of endless growth kept everyone playing along. Companies kept selling, consumers kept buying, Wall Street kept cashing in. But as the global economy expanded, something else began to shift. The products filling American homes were no longer made in America. The wealth being created was spreading somewhere else. And that would change the story forever. When manufacturing went overseas, America unlocked a new level of consumption. Goods became cheaper, faster, and more disposable than ever before. The average household could now afford 10 times more products than their grandparents. But with every bargain came a hidden cost. Factories in China, India, and Southeast Asia produced everything from clothes to electronics at a fraction of US costs. Corporations saw record profits, consumers saw lower prices, and the cycle of buying accelerated. But American workers saw their jobs disappear.
The economic miracle of cheap imports had a side effect. It hollowed out the middle class. Wages stagnated, while products got cheaper. Families turned to credit once again. They could buy more, but they owned less. Meanwhile, competition among corporations triggered the price wars. Retail giants fought to offer the lowest prices possible, sometimes at the expense of quality, ethics, and sustainability. The cheaper things got, the faster they broke. And the faster they broke, the quicker people replaced them. It was the perfect feedback loop of modern capitalism. Globalization fed affordability. Affordability fed consumption. And consumption fed corporate profit. America had mastered not just the art of buying, but the global logistics of it. By the 2000s, shopping wasn't just an activity. It was infrastructure, baked into the very identity of the nation. From Black Friday to Cyber Monday, entire holidays revolved around spending.
But now, the cracks were beginning to show. When a culture builds its identity around buying, what happens when people start asking why? That question would define the next chapter in America's story of consumption. America stands at a crossroads. After decades of buying, upgrading, and throwing away, a quiet rebellion is forming. People are beginning to ask questions that once seemed unthinkable. Do I really need this? Why am I buying so much? And what am I actually getting out of it? For the first time in a century, the story of American consumption is shifting. A new generation, buried under student loans and rent costs, is redefining what success looks like. Experiences are replacing possessions. The Flex isn't a luxury car anymore. It's freedom. Freedom from debt, from clutter, from the pressure to constantly keep up. But this shift isn't happening evenly. On one side, there's a growing minimalism movement, people who want to own less and live more intentionally. On the other side, technology and data-driven marketing are pushing harder than ever to make sure you never stop buying. Every swipe, scroll, and click teaches algorithms what you crave. And then they sell it back to you. You're not just buying things, you are the product. And the biggest companies in the world are fighting over your mind space. Still, within this chaos lies opportunity. Because if you understand how this machine works, you can do more than just resist it. You can use it. Entrepreneurs, investors, and creators who study the psychology of spending can build wealth from the very forces that keep others broke. They see patterns in trends, emotion, and timing. The danger is becoming a slave to the system. The opportunity is mastering it.
The question now is simple. Will you be the buyer or the one being bought? America didn't just become good at buying. It became the best. From factories to credit cards, from malls to online stores, the entire nation learned to turn desire into an economic engine. Consumption built fortunes, raised living standards, and fueled a global empire of trade and influence. But that success came at a cost. It blurred the line between happiness and ownership. It turned identity into a shopping cart. Yet, within that system lies one of the greatest lessons about wealth: the psychology that drives markets. If you understand what people want and why they want it, you hold the keys to real power. Because in the end, money isn't just made by those who buy. It's made by those who understand why others do. So as you walk through the aisles of this global marketplace, remember this: every purchase, every click, every craving is shaping the future of wealth itself. The question isn't just how America got so good at buying, it's what happens when America finally decides to stop. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the psychology of money, culture, and consumption, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video.